Welcome to Alignment Adventures, a podcast where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling, aligning, and present life. I'm your host, Lindsay Tanner, and I'm so dang glad you're here. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Adventures. I am so happy and so grateful that you are joining me today, and I hope that this episode especially can help get you into a high vibe, aligned, connected, joyous state if you're not already in that right now. So I have to be honest, this is like my fifth time trying to record this episode, and I'm really just learning to surrender to being very flexible, obviously as a new mom with a 3.5-month, almost 4-month-old, which is crazy. Time is crazy, how it moves so fast and so at the same time. But I'm really just trying to remind myself to be compassionate with myself and my son and flexible. Things don't go the way you want them to a lot of the times. Like they don't nap as long as you want them to nap, or they don't nap when you want them to nap. And that's okay. They're their own sovereign being, their own soul. They have their own alignment path as well. And we're just learning to be flexible. And he's teaching me just as much as I will teach him, if not more. I just can feel that in my bones. But still getting into that groove as a new mom. Still, reminding myself that if something's not flowing, that's okay. Like come back to it later when it feels more flowy. Because I want to bring you guys my highest energy that I can, and not in a perfectionist way, but especially with this topic, I just really want to do justice to this topic I'm going to talk about today. And I can feel myself almost getting into that perfectionist mindset. Like I have to do it perfectly because this topic feels so important and so crucial, but I'm learning to let that go. I've filmed a bunch of yoga flows and YouTube videos about letting stuff go in this astrological season. So go check those out if you haven't already. I just did a yoga flow right before I recorded this, and I imagined that perfectionist energy that I still have lingering just releasing from my body and melting into the ground. So I'm releasing that expectation on myself, and I'm going to allow what needs to come through in this episode, because it's too important to let perfectionism stop me. And I know a lot of people out there can relate to that. Whatever you're feeling called to do, perfectionism can stop you, or the unrealistic expectations to do whatever that thing you need to do with these high expectations that you're setting. Just release those and allow yourself to just go do the thing when it feels aligned to go do it. So today I want to talk about something that I've seen on many of the Gaia episodes I've been deep diving into this past week. I've even had Steven watch a few with me, and we're both just like mind blown. It's so crazy. Some of the stuff you don't realize about our society or the systems in our society, and then when someone shines a light on it, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. And a lot of times, especially if you're watching mainstream news or on social media, it can really feel like just so hopeless sometimes. Like there's all these perceived negative things going on. All these systems are corrupt, which they are corrupt. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit. I don't want to be too negative in that aspect. I really want to focus on what we can do as individuals. But you can get lost in that, and that can feel so hopeless. But what I want to remind you of today is that those changes start with the individual. Those massive changes in our society, and with those corrupt systems that we see, like the corrupt system of healthcare and our government and politics and the stock market and education. Really, like every system out there has a level of corruptedness to it, which again is a negative way to look at it. But I do think becoming aware really just helps expand your mind. And then we can focus on our individual contributions and how we can really make this a better place for everyone. So let's get into what I want to talk about today. And really the theme of this episode is collaboration versus competition. So let's just pretend for a second, which you may not want to do this, but I just want to refresh your brain. Let's pretend we're in 7th grade science class. As you guys know, I was a 7th grade and 8th grade science teacher for 5 years, did a little bit of both, and now I'm still in education, which I will say, as someone in education, yes, that system also has a lot of work to do, right? There's a lot of things in that system as a whole that just aren't working. But let's pretend we're in science class. And I want to revisit something that is like central to science itself. It is taught pretty much everywhere. It is a state standard. It is in all the science textbooks. And for a while I was like, yes, this is what science is supporting. But I want to remind you something about science. The nature of science is that it changes. As we discover new things, we can change our mind about things, or we can come up with new theories and we can discover new things, and that's okay. That is the nature of science. Things change, things evolve. So that is what I want to talk about, is evolution. So to remind you, because it may have been a while since you've learned about evolution, the most commonly accepted theory with evolution is Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. Now, just a quick refresher, what that means basically is that if an organism has a trait that's going to help it survive, it is more likely to survive because that trait is going to help it survive. Let's say like it has white fur in the Arctic, right? That's going to help that organism survive rather than having dark fur where they would stand out to predators. So they're more likely to survive if they have a certain trait or group of traits and reproduce and pass that trait on. And then over time, we're going to see more and more of that trait, and that is how species evolve and how things change depending on the environment, because a trait could be an adaptation in one environment and not an adaptation in a different environment, right? An essential concept to evolution is this theme of competition, that organisms are constantly competing for habitat, for mate, for food, for all the things that living things need to survive. That was like a pillar of Charles Darwin's theory, is that organisms experience competition in their environment. Now that has become like a subtle theme to our society, has it not? That competitive aspect, like I've got to go and get mine before someone else does. And if someone else has something, that's less for me. Well, what science is showing now, and I'll give you a few examples of this, is that it's not necessarily competition that we see in our natural world, but collaboration and cooperation. So nature isn't based on this competition, animal against animal, man eat man kind of mentality. It's more of this collaboration and cooperation. So 2 examples of this would be trees. So there's now scientific evidence out there that trees, like the thought before was that trees were competing for sunlight. Think of in the rainforest, right? Like there's such a dense canopy of trees that they have to compete for sunlight. Well, now it is supported by scientific evidence. Remember, as we learn more and more and we're able to observe more with different ways of observing, they can now see that trees are actually connected. They're interconnected. It reminds me of Avatar, how the mother tree was connected to all the things like a brain with its neurons. But that's real life on our planet. The trees are connected, interconnected in the ground, and they will actually work with each other to get the sunlight that they need to. And trees will actually choose to, quote unquote, die off so other trees can thrive. And it's more of a cooperation and collaboration than competition. Another example of this is, think of the cells in our body. We have trillions of cells in our body, and a lot of those cells are actually microorganisms like bacteria and microbiomes in our gut and all the different things going on in our body. Those trillions and trillions of cells work together in cooperation to help our body function, to do all the things that our body does, like digest our food and send signals from our brain to different parts of our body and pump blood and all the things that our body does. Those cells work together. So rather than seeing the cells like working against each other, like the cells got to get this much oxygen because they don't want the other cells to get it, or they've got to get the food because they don't want the other cells to get it. They're all working together to get what they need to help the body function as a whole. It's so beautiful and so magnificent and so amazing when you just stop and think about all the things that are going on inside of your body to help you function as a human being. It's truly magical is the word that I want to use. But they're cooperating and collaborating, not competing. So really it is a matter of each one of us is like the cell in the body, right? Like we're like a cell in the human body, even though we're an individual in the society. Think of that metaphor there. We each have to do our own internal work to switch that mindset, because it is an underlying subconscious thought in our society. That mentality of more for you means less for me, when really it's more for you means more for me too. And your well-being is my well-being. That's why it feels so good to do something for someone else, because when you're putting that energy out there, you know that it's coming back to you. We're all interconnected, just like the trees are interconnected. We're interconnected to everything in the universe. So when we collaborate and cooperate, that feels so much better than competing, right? And some of you out there that maybe have competitive personalities may be thinking differently. I've personally never been super competitive. So as soon as I heard this theory, I was like, yes, this just resonates in my body. When someone explained collaboration over competition, I was like, yes, that is my truth. Like I said in the beginning, we each have our own truth. So again, just tune in and see if this feels right for you. But a point I want to bring to you is there's been a huge showcase of this competition recently with the elections just wrapping up. Like turning on the TV or watching YouTube, the ads for these politicians are just sickening and so disheartening. It's like, this is what is leading our country. These ads that are just all about slander, all about competition, all about going for the lowest lows to point out what is wrong with their opponent. Instead of focusing on why you should vote for them, it's all about tearing down the other person. So much competition, right? And I don't know about you guys, that just feels so icky and disgusting. And we see that, like I said, in every single system on our planet. So again, I'm not here to focus on the negative. I want to talk about how we can change this mentality, how we ourselves can influence moving from competition to collaboration to create a more connected and harmonious and loving world. Can you just imagine? Can you imagine if everyone switched to this mentality? Every living thing realized that we're all interconnected, and that when you have more, everyone else has more, and your well-being affects everyone else's well-being. What a truly beautiful place. It reminds me of that song by John Lennon, Imagine. We were listening to that on the way to go vote, trying to channel all the good energy as we do our civic duty. Like I still went and voted, and I just tuned into my alignment. I did my research, and I voted for the people that I felt like would embody this message that I'm talking about right now the most. So anyway, not here to talk about politics too much, but it is an integral part of this. Just a reminder to you all, we really are truly connected. When you help someone else out, you are helping yourself. As above, so below. That is an ancient saying, because it is true. And when you do this work of self-reflection, introspection, finding your soul's desire, your alignment, you're affecting the entire cosmos, the entire universe. That is why this work is so important. That is why I'm so passionate about this message. This is why I continue to record these episodes, even though I want to self-doubt and I can let perfectionism get in the way, because this message is too important. And that's why doing kind things just feels so good. When you help someone out, doesn't it just feel like amazing on a level you can't even really quantify, that's because we're here to co-create. We are here to co-create and support each other. We have never, ever, ever solved problems from the level of the problem, from the level of hate and disconnection. It really is about just going within and seeing where we still have those subconscious beliefs of competition and scarcity. It really is moving from that scarcity to abundance mindset. And parallel to that is going from competition to collaboration. How can you, be more in community with other people? That was one of those solutions they talk about on all these Gaia shows, which I will link every single one in the show notes so you can see which specific episodes I was watching and which ones were just seriously blowing my mind. But one of their major solutions is just living more in community, more locally. Everything is so global, right? We can order stuff on Amazon from across the world and it gets to our doorstep in 2 days, which is amazingly convenient, but is hurting so many systems in our world. So really just coming back to community, helping your neighbor out, really helping your family out, living closer with your family or your friends, and cooking for each other and gardening and using local shops and stuff like that is really going to help bring back that health to the ecosystem of our society. I really think of it like an ecosystem, right? Again, going back to my science mindset here, that's just how I see things. In an ecosystem, if you disturb any of the parts, or if there's too much or too little of something, it kind of disrupts the whole flow. Just like our society is an ecosystem, each part is interconnected. And the health of one part of the ecosystem affects the health of the entire ecosystem. So your health, your alignment, your joy, your abundance mindset, your connectedness, your collaboration truly affects the entire universe. So that is my message to you this week. I definitely want to dive into this topic even deeper. Like I said, this just feels like the most important thing, to go back to this collaboration, cooperation aspect over competition, to live more in community, to give back to each other, to help each other out. Like, help out the people around you instead of hating on everyone, instead of telling everyone what they're doing wrong or what you don't agree with. Help people out. Like, when has it ever worked to shame someone into doing something that you want them to do? That never works. What works is connection and love and helping each other out. There's not a single person on this planet at their core that doesn't agree that we all just need to help humanity, right? I mean, I'm sure there's maybe some extreme cases, but for the most part, every single soul out there agrees that we just need to get humans in a better spot. And I truly believe this is how we do it, by just continuing to love on each other and help each other out. Maybe this is my idealistic way of looking at it, but that's how I choose to look at it. And I always say that we each create our own reality from the perspectives that we have. So I hope this episode, if nothing else, just helped shine a light on how you, as the individual, can help the collective. And I don't want to focus too much on the corruptness of each system, because there is a lot of corruptness in each of the systems on our planet. But I really want to focus on what we can do to change it, because where your focus goes, that's what you're bringing energy to. And when you focus too much on the problem, you're just making it more of a problem, right? We have to focus on the solution. So my homework to you, if it feels aligned, is to go watch those Gaia episodes, get inspired, and also just inform yourself about, what is really happening in our reality. Because some of these things I just truly didn't even understand, like when it comes to the stock market and stuff like that. I'm definitely not qualified to talk about that stuff. I should have Steven come back on and we can talk about money mindset and the stock market and all of that. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But go check out those episodes and really just reflect on what you can do as an individual to change your mindset, to change your subconscious beliefs. Keep doing the stuff we've been doing for November. I've talked to some of you about that and how that is really helping you stay aligned this month, especially in the midst of kind of a busier time of year. Keep doing those things that help you go within and just keep shining your light. I know that sounds cheesy, but seriously, let your alignment flow. Let what you feel called to flow, because the world needs you in this time and space. You are here for a reason. Nature does not create things by accident. Existence does not mess up. You are here for a reason and you're here for a purpose, and that is to help the collective. So sending so much love and abundance mindset and all the high vibes to every single one of you. Share your takeaways with me over on Instagram, or if you have any questions or just want to talk about any of this, please reach out to me there. My handle is the same as always, at Lindsay with an A.M. Tanner. And please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this specific message. So sending you all the loves, all the high vibes, and of course, I will see you next week on Alignment Adventures.